Yeah. So before let the crowd ask the questions, just wanted to comment that watching this film, how many of you have seen Ilo Ilo before you came to watch Wet Season? So not that many, but anyway, Ilo Ilo, in Ilo Ilo, the boy who's the young man in this film, the main actor is this little boy, Jala, and now he's like the teenager in the film, and Yan, the actress who plays the teacher in this film, she was actually the boy's mother in Ilo Ilo. So when I watched this film, I really felt it's kind of a bit like the relationship between Truffaut and Jean-Pierre Léaud, that way that, the artist kind of continues the working relationship with the cast and like developing different stories as they grow and take on different emotions and experiences. So I wanted to ask you why you want to cast the same people again in the second film, and how you want to continue this kind of artistic journey.
That wasn't the intention, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I cast for a long time. I spent at least a year casting the film, a year and a half actually, because even when I was writing the script, we were already looking for the 16-year-old boy that to use in this film. I wanted to do the same process that I did on Ilo Ilo. We saw like thousands of kids. We went to a lot of schools, and then we found Jiala. And we did the same thing. I told my casting team I wanted a fresh face. For me, like any actor below the age of 18, they are non-actors anyway. And then over six to 8 months, we couldn't quite find this kid. Then one day I was sort of like going on my Instagram, and then I saw like a photograph, and then I said, oh, this boy looks interesting, and I showed it to my producer and said, this is your actor. Because he has grown up.
Yeah,
He's like, he went from like that to like that. He's a proper sort of teenager now. And I said, okay, get him in. So we brought him into the workshops. He had to go through like quite a few months of that. He had to prove himself. I had to find an actress, and you can see for this film, it's a very internalized role. It's a very difficult role to play. I knew I need a very good actress. I was looking at it needs to be a professional actress. So I was looking at Singapore and Malaysia, because for me, the authenticity and the accent needs to feel right as well. I don't even believe that any mainland Chinese actor can do like a Singaporean accent or even try and speak Hokkien, which is the dialect that she speaks with
Southeast Asian accent.
With the mother, which is the dialect that she speaks with
Southeast Asian accent
with the mother. So there's a certain sort of like masculinity in her, and I needed to get the elegance and that gentleness from this character. So we set about sort of transforming her through hair and makeup. It was a lot of work. I can't explain why I'm interested in like female identity, but somehow I'm quite good at writing them and sort of shaping them and finding the nuances in them. I hope I did. I hope, I don't know, the female audiences and might tell me better. The film hasn't played in Singapore yet. The first one did very well in Singapore. The first one was the third highest boxing Singapore film that year in Singapore. It was the longest running Singapore film that year. I think it ran for 6 months in cinemas. It was the most successful art house film in Singapore ever. But of course, like the film won a lot of awards. But I think for Ilo Ilo, Singaporeans sort of really saw themselves on a screen that they have never quite seen before, in a very raw way. I had a lot of people after watching Ilo, they started contacting their helpers from years ago. Like there was something that kicked in all of a sudden, like that need to try and understand what happened in your childhood. It even started a social movement where it wasn't a charity, but they started a social movement. There were groups that just started buying lots of tickets to the films in Singapore, to the film. and they would go out to where the mates gather on the weekend, and they would just give out free tickets so that they can watch the film. So like it became a social movement. It was, in the same way, like most people will ask me, like, "Oh, did you have a relationship with a teacher when you're growing up?" But no, I mean, I don't need to. I don't think one day if I write a film about a murder, I would have like committed murder in order to write that film. But for me, it's it's life that inspires me, yeah, I mean that's what I do. I observe and I try and capture life that feels poetic and meaningful and beautiful to me. It's very chaotic. A lot of times, whether is it my first film, I won a lot of sort of like screenplay prizes on my first film, and because I start with an idea, I sort of know where I start, where the story starts and where the story ends, but in between, I need to sort of join those dots. I write it so that I can play every single character, because I can feel it. I can feel the emotional beats, the pauses and all of that. So when it's wrong on set, I know it because I know it's untrue. Like, yeah, I'm very sensitive to emotions and performance in that way as well. And that also sort of like dictates how I write. I'm not sure if I actually answered your question. Basically, I'm not a very good screenwriter. I just worked very hard for 3 years trying to get something together. Yeah, I'm not one to, let's find out in the edit room, let's just shoot lots of coverage. I feel it's very, there are two things that for me it's very important in my filmmaking. One, it's clarity, and second, it's precision. Whether is it the beats, the dialogue, sound, the use of sound, all the way to colors, to like where to put the camera. The two things that a director needs to do. First is you need to get the performances out of your actors, right? And the second thing that you need to do really is to know where to put the camera. For a person to exist, you need to have roots. And I worry that when you have no roots, you don't actually exist. And I think that's very important going forward, whether it's as an individual or as a family unit or as a society. And it's something which I've noticed a lot. And even the institutions itself, they don't see, like learning, even if you scored like 100 for Chinese, it's not going to get you into Harvard or Oxford or Stanford or like, Cambridge. It's not, because so it's very pragmatic in Singapore, and you start seeing that it's even the institutions and the powers to be, they sort of like sideline the language, ourselves, with a community, whether is it with our parents or with, like how you code switch, the reason, like you see how her tongue changes when she speaks to the brother, her like very formal sort of Chinese teacher Mandarin changes, how she starts switching into a dialect with your parents. Like that's how, for me, that's truth, you see, that's the truth of life. I'm gonna call it out here, but like, which is why I was actually very put off when they didn't get it right in Crazy Rich Asians, because it's completely wrong. For me, it's about truth, because any Filipino would tell, like, she's not from Iloilo, she shouldn't be speaking this. So for me, it's about that basic respect. And so it's not like whether, I can't speak Penang Hokkien, but for me, it's about, it's about where people are from. That's why I keep talking about, like, you exist only, people exist because they have roots.